Infamous gunslinger Desmond Gibbons, better known across the Wild West as the Cactus Kid, comes to the sleepy town of Clarkson. Trouble finds him in the unlikeliest of sources, the sheriff. After their conflict, the Cactus Kid finds himself inexplicably wearing the badge of a lawman. Later, while on the trail of a serial killer, he and his deputy run afoul of a powerful druid, and the events that lead to the Cactus Kid's transformation into the hulking, four-armed projectile reptile are even more than the druid bargained for. From the Wild West to current-day Los Angeles, where he meets superheroes Black Eagle and Red Hawk, and forms an uneasy alliance with the stunning but deadly Kitty Hawk. Join the projectile reptile on a journey of gunslinging druidic magic, superheroes, and artifacts. Projectile Reptile from Dojo Comics, only on Indiegogo. Are you ready for the truly Wild West?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 41st episode of the Dojo Chill Shack. Very glad that you're here. If you're watching on the replay, we thank you very much for coming back and giving it a chance at another time. We have an early show tonight because, our guest is streaming later tonight and has an important show, so we wanted to accommodate. After all, we love having her on. In fact, the very first show on my channel, my solo channel, was called Left to My Own Devices because my co-host at the time had a prior commitment, so I had to go on my own. And Irene was one of my guests that night. She came on with Jake Adams and the guys from the 656 crew. We just talked about our live campaigns and whatever came to mind. And then on my fourth episode, officially, she was my co-host. But today, she's here as a guest. Hi, Irene. How are you?
Hello. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. And speaking of doing very well, your campaign is off to a roaring start.
Yeah.
I love to see that.
Very well. Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. And
Definitely.
Thank you to everyone who has backed it.
Oh, yeah, and there's a number of them. It's definitely deserved. And because you're a great addition to not just Comicsgate, but to the indie community as a whole. You bring professionalism, excitement. You've got a great show, and you're fun to talk to about these things. So, I think it's no wonder that people sort of flock to your show and want to back you.
Oh, thank you. I try.
Well, before I make you blush too much, let's go ahead and bring up your campaign.
Yay. Okay, let's go.
All right. So what I'll do is I'm going to, I'll drive, but you tell me like where you want me to scroll and all that so we can make sure that we hit all of the important parts. I see you've got a trailer. It looks like you've got a lot of pictures here at the top of the campaign page. So I'll just be quiet and let you drive. Where do we go?
I suppose if you want to play the trailer, I have two trailers. So those are a nice introduction, and I think I cover most of the bases, and then we can scroll down and just look at the pretty graphics that I made for the campaign page.
All right. Sounds good. We'll start with the trailer then. Thank you.
Yay. Yay! I spent a lot of time on that trailer.
I was going to ask you who put that awesome trailer together, but at the end it tells us.
It's me. Well, the
That's
music is by a wonderful composer. I think he's like a one-man band. Well, he doesn't play everything, but he hires out an orchestra and he composes it. So I found him on YouTube and I asked him, I was going to commission him. And he's like, no, you can just use something I already made. So I was like, that's awesome. Thank you so much.
Wow,
So,
that's great. Yeah.
Yeah. The music is by I think he's Belarusian. And the artist name is Zivia. It's at the end of the trailer. So check him out. Definitely.
Yeah, no doubt. I like having an international cast of characters in my creative team. So,
Fiendish is very international. I think I'm the only one in America. The rest of my team is in Colombia, and then I'm collaborating with a Belarusian musician. It's great.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, do you want me to go ahead and play your second trailer as well?
Sure, yeah, that's just me talking.
That's okay.
Yay.
Hello, everybody. I am Irene Strychalski, aka Irene Draws, and I am here to tell you about my new comic project, Fiendish 2, that is live only on Indiegogo. Fiendish 1, which is the first book of my Fiendish series, was also launched on Indiegogo last year, and it was very, very successful. We raised over $53,000 with over 1,300 backers. So first of all, I want to thank everybody who was there to help me make this dream project a reality. Book 2 will continue the story of Casimir after he killed one of the mysterious demons that destroyed his hometown so long ago. Along with several like-minded companions, Kaz sets out on a journey to find the truth behind these monsters in this action-packed sequel, Origins. Chapter 2 will contain 72 story pages and at least 10 pages of extra content, including world-building material and process sketches. All the covers on the campaign will be limited run, and you will not be able to get them with subsequent issues, so act now if you like what you see. You can also find out more about Fiendish on the comic website, fiendishcomic.com. On there, you can find character profiles, a world map, you can find a completely free 20-page preview of Chapter 1, and you can also find a dictionary of the fantasy language that I created for this project, because I might be mildly insane, perhaps, maybe. Takasten sakersin urkastis nesevo. En vesku iera den veyun luka skoi kesva. I know that you are going to love this project just as much as I do once you hold the book in your hands and you see what Fiendish is really about. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for your time. And I really hope that you will consider backing Fiendish 2 and helping me make this project a further reality. I hope you have an awesome, wonderful day, and I will see you around. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, 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 bye.
Yay! Bye. Bye. Yay! Those are my trailers. I think that explains most of it. I try to be pretty thorough, but yeah. So for anyone who hasn't gathered from those videos that we just covered, Fiendish is my fantasy mystery comic, and it's been described as Lovecraft meets Vikings in D&D, which is pretty apt because I love all of those things, and I decided to just mash all these things I love together in a manga style. So that's Fiendish.
So that works. Yeah, I wanted to ask you, was that actually Canarsa you were speaking?
No, Narsa, yeah. I was speaking in my language. I thought I was going to caption in the actual writing, in an Narsa writing, but that takes a lot of time, and I made that trailer the night before it launched. So I did actually the morning, because I launched at noon and I filmed it at like 5 a.m.
Wow. Okay. Well, that, I guess we can forgive you for not getting that fancy then, but the fact that you're great at world building, we've talked about that before, and it's worth mentioning now too. The fact that you developed your own language, that you intersperse a lot of that written language in the book. And you've mentioned that where there's maybe a sign in the background that's in your language. I think you corrected me. It's Nanarsa.
Nanarsa, yeah. Well,
Nanarsa. Okay.
right, yeah. The reason I created language was not to show off. I just felt like because I'm creating a fantasy world, I wanted it to feel believable. And if there's any writing, if it's in English, that breaks the reader's immersion. So it just felt like it was kind of a necessity to at least come up with a basic fantasy language. And it kind of just got out of hand there because I started having a lot of fun with it. And the more I integrated it, because like I make up some basic words, and then I'm like, ooh, I can make the sound effects in this language. Ooh, I can like start writing whole parts of dialogue in this language. Ooh, I should write a poem in it. So then the vocabulary just expands, and it naturally grew. So, but yeah, it's not required to learn the language, of course, to read my comic, but I do. It plays into some characters have a background where so Nanarsa is the clerical language of the continent of Arvos, and it kind of works like think of how Mandarin Chinese works in the Sinosphere, or how ecclesiastical Latin works. It's like that's the documenting almost religious language, and records and books are written in the language, even though common people speak like related lower forms of the language that are more malleable. They're like dialects. So essentially every region of Arvos. I'm sorry, I'm just diving really like right into world building.
Yeah, tell us.
Yeah. So, like there are regional dialects that are somewhat related to Nanarsa, but Nanarsa is the language that like shamans and like scribes will speak, and religious leaders and the like. And so the upper class learns that, and it's also kind of tied to a certain heritage, which is the Isfaliad heritage, and you'll find out more about that in the comic. It's sort of like a extra magical type of human that came to the continent thousands of years ago and taught everybody language and magic and all this stuff. So I have characters with that heritage. I have shaman characters, and their first language is actually Nanarsa. So I just have them say things in Nanarsa sometimes, and switch between Arvosa and Nanarsa. Technically, whenever the characters are speaking English, they're actually speaking Arvosa, which is the common tongue, and when they're speaking Nanarsa, that's the clerical tongue. So that's how I designed my comic to work. Did I?
Well, sense? A lot of people don't probably think about it this way, but formal English is the way a lot of books are written, but then the way we speak is often different, with various dialects, with a little bit of a lower form. So yeah, what you said about those languages is exactly how it happens in real life around the world, not just in those ancient languages you were talking about, but even in our own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it kind of seemed fairly obvious to me, because I think English and people who grow up speaking English don't probably think of language this way, but I grew up speaking Mandarin, and Mandarin Mandarin is a language that everyone speaks. So anybody from like Mongolia, Inner Mongolia, to like Singapore speaks Mandarin Chinese, albeit with different accents, but there are local languages. So like Cantonese is actually a local language of just the Guangdong region, which is part of southern China. Then people from Shanghai would speak Shanghainese, but everyone, if I go to Shanghai, I speak Mandarin because I don't speak Shanghainese. I speak Hakka and a little Taiwanese because I'm from Taiwan. So, but all these languages are related. They're all Sinic languages. SINIC, the term for, I guess, what is it? Anthropological term for China, but they're related to Mandarin. Mandarin's like the official language. So that made sense. And also, growing up with the way ancient Chinese worked, it was not written vernacularly. There was actually a movement in like 100 or so years ago to start writing Chinese vernacularly, because before that, all written Chinese, even somebody just writing a diary entry, you're expected to write in poetic Chinese. So it was like you don't use you kind of condense words, and you write in like short stanzas, and with the way Chinese works, the less words you use, the more smart you sound. It's hard to explain, but
that's actually the opposite in English.
It's very interesting.
Yeah.
But like, in English, the more clever words you can use, and the more descriptive you could be, the more impressive the languages. But in Chinese, you sort of want to try and describe something with as few words as possible and find like just the right character to use to express something. So so anyways, that's sort of what I grew up understanding about Mandarin, and having studied, like ancient Chinese texts, just because I learned Mandarin growing up. So I thought it would make sense for the clerical language of my fantasy continent to work the same way.
Awesome. Well, see, that takes a lot of dedication to the craft, and that is lacking in a lot of other realms, but not here in indie comics. In indie comics, we have a passion for what we're doing, and Rini is definitely indicative of that. So as you can see here, before I scroll down, she's got over 1,200 backers at 5,439%. And keep in mind, folks, that this wasn't just a $500 goal that she threw out there, a lot of people do. She went to 2,000, which is, that's a reasonable goal on a campaign. And of course, smashed through that. She's in fact at 6 figures, young lady.
Yay! Thank you so much, everyone. Yeah, I didn't want to. I mean, it's tempting to set 500, but I wanted to actually set a goal where this is literally the bare minimum for me to print the book. But
right.
I did expect to exceed 2,000, but I wasn't expecting this much. So I'm very, very grateful to everyone for backing the book. I'm so excited to show it to you guys.
Now, I can tell that you said that a little hesitantly, and I think I know why, and that's because you don't want to sound overly confident or arrogant. However, you have your first campaign to look at, right? So, you've got the fact that you raised over $50,000 on the first one. So yeah, you're right to think that you would easily exceed 2,000. But like you said, 2,000 is a reasonable goal and the bare minimum. So that's absolutely fair. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Yay. Yeah, I don't want to sound like I expect too much, but at the same time, like, part of me has that, and I'm sure you know this, sort of like the artist's self-doubt and anxiety over, well, now I put my book out there, and do people really like it enough to buy the second one? And now that I have the second one, I'm already worried about the third book. Like, oh my god, is this book 2 good enough for people to buy book 3? Like, I feel the pressure, but I think that ensures that that's a good kind of pressure, right? Because I think you don't want to be too comfortable as a creator, and it forces you to self-reflect every step of the way while you're doing the work.
Well, that motivation you're talking about is often referred to as butterflies or whatever, but there's actually a word for it, and it's called eustress. It's the opposite of distress, in which you are, it's like right before you go out on stage, if you're a singer or an actor, you have that experience that we often refer to, like I said, as butterflies. But the eustress gives you motivation. It gives you energy, a little bit of shot of adrenaline or endorphins, and then you go out there and you do your best. So in this case, you're using that to funnel your creativity into your project. Now, we don't know how Fiendish 2 is going to be. We can guess based on how good the first one was. But you thinking about the third one with a little bit of trepidation, a little bit of excitement to see how people receive the second one, that's awesome, because that'll just feed into your creativity.
Yay. Yeah, I'm hoping so. Oh, Genuine Comics says usually origin stories told after issue 1 are released as 0 issues. Right. I probably should have thought about that with the title. This isn't actually an origin story. That's just the title of the chapter. It continues in the timeline after chapter 1.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I do have an origin story planned for like a 30-page side story. So that's not part of the main chapter sequence. But yeah, this isn't it. I just decided to call it Origins for other reasons.
So are you looking at that being a supplemental book or part of your main book when you get to that?
I'm thinking of it being a supplemental. I was going to hold a whole new campaign for it, but like part of me is considering, well, if this campaign closes out wildly well, then I will just throw it in with chapter 2. But at this point, I'm not sure. I can't make that promise yet because we're not there. But yeah, right, either it'll be a supplemental for this, or I'm going to do a mini campaign in a few months.
Well, I think either one would be very successful. A supplemental campaign works very well. For example, for Malin, he does that a lot, and those books are very well received. On the other hand, I think that if maybe you did a little 30-page one, with a different price point, you might do way better than you might expect with that one even.
Yeah, it's about 35 pages, I think, and I was thinking either a separate campaign or I can release it with like an artist edition of Chapter Two or like a toy or something. So yeah, I'm
Ooh, you're looking at
ideas
branching
are
off into
mulling
the
over.
toys. That's a great idea.
Oh, not like Last of the Seekers level toys, like not jointed figurines yet, but I'm thinking because in case you can't tell from my comic, I'm a big tabletop role playing game player. So I was thinking making little figurines that are sized for tabletop games of the
Oh yeah,
characters.
excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I
stuff like
played
that.
tabletop role playing games for more than 20 years now, so I'm in your group too.
Yeah. What do you play?
Oh, D&D, Rifts, GURPS, and even the one that was called Tolus. It was like the City of the Spires. It was called Ptolus.
I don't know
Very
that one.
cool setting. I really like that game a lot.
Cool. Very cool.
So
Very
we've
cool. I'm
got.
more of a. Oh,
Oh, go
sorry.
ahead.
Go ahead. I was just gonna say I'm mostly a Pathfinder player though. I've played a little D&D. I'd like to branch out more, but I don't have a lot of time.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Rifts turned out to be incredibly difficult, even though my group was very, very good at complex, world building and character building. Boy, Rifts it almost took the fun out of it. Whereas GURPS, generic universal role playing system, that you could play any character in any of the settings and it would work because it was so, universal. That's thus the name. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that was a fun system as well.
Hmm.
And I think you've mentioned before that you plan to either make this part of a Pathfinder like playability, or you're going to have your own game system. What's your plan on that?
So I am actually not crazy enough to design a whole game system on my own, and there's no need for it because the D&D and Pathfinder stuff is essentially open source.
Yes.
So my plan is to create like an alternate magic system where it's almost like, well, because Pathfinder has their own world of Galarian, and so you can play in like my fiendish universe. The universe name is called the Cimarron universe, but you can take Pathfinder rules, but you're just going to have to like change a few things, and I'll build like a guidebook of this is how like the human race changes, and these are the custom races for my world, and this is how magic is different, but I'll like pick and choose some spells and some classes that work with my world building in Fiendish and carry it over. So it's like a skin of Pathfinder.
Okay, yeah. Well, any good game master or dungeon master is good at, house rules and making a few changes because you got to make sure that your players are having fun. If you're too much of a book Nazi, then you can take the fun right out of it. So yeah, the fact that you've got things that you can tweak that fit your universe best, that would be ideal.
Yeah, and honestly, I've been working on this with my GM on and off, but we've both been really busy. But so far, we've built the characters and some of the monsters, but I haven't had time to go through and figure out the magic system because the magic system works very differently from Pathfinder. That's honestly the hardest part because building races and monsters is relatively easy.
Yeah,
It
sure.
like
Yeah.
normal Pathfinder allows you to build your own races and monsters. So that's gonna like the magic system is gonna take a while, and it's extra complex because in the world of Fiendish, the magic system that a character can use depends on their species/race. So every species has a different type of magic, and
And do
that's
they have
really
the different
different.
type of sources of their magic as well?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, essentially. Even like it's generally. I don't think magic is sort of is comes from a source. It's more that the I explain it kind of in a pseudoscientific way by saying that the biological resonance of different species is connected to different types of elements. So different species would be connected to like different parts of the world. Like humans and Ispoliad are very connected to the elements, so they have like a biological resonance with the elemental planes, like heat, earth, plasma, air, all that kind of stuff. And depending on the person, they can cast they could learn potentially to cast in one of like those elements. But so the human Ispoliad one is the most versatile. But then you have a race called the Aluka, which is sort of my vampire race, and they have blood powers. but not just like, they don't just eat blood. They can manipulate blood and shape blood into solid objects and stuff. And then I have races
How very
that
sanguine of them.
and then so it's kind of elemental, but not always. And for example, the Etten are a race that can kind of manipulate stone, but they can do even more than, for example, a human earth caster can do. They can like merge their bodies into stone and turn to stone and stuff like that. So that's how it generally works. There's one race called the Corrigans that isn't necessarily elemental, because not all magic systems are elemental, but they are essentially descended from astral beings, so they have illusion magic, and that's kind of the mind domain, because that's another domain. So everything is kind of based around the domains, but and it makes sense in like a loosely scientific way, but you're kind of constrained by what you can do by your race, which isn't how Pathfinder and D&D works. So that's something that I've been worrying about how to make that fun and for the players, but I'll figure it out.
Based on your description, I'm also getting a bit of a feel of what we experience when playing Magic the Gathering, and the various people who are in tune with either the blue mana that does illusions and trickery, as opposed to red, which is fire and anger and things like that. So I can kind of see where you're coming from there. That's interesting. I see, and that leads me to say that, this isn't just one of those comics that's well written, which of course it is, but I mean, there's so much to be immersed in as you're reading this. And as I alluded to before, when you're using the Nanarsa language on signs and papers and all that, and the pictures, then, as you're going through it, you might buzz through it once and not pay much attention to that. But then it's fun, at least it was for me, to go back and look at those signs and then, do the translations and see, oh, that one just says this. You know what I mean? It turns out it's a real simple, but it's cool to go back and find out what they really say. So that makes it immersive and a fun read.
Right, I'm glad to hear, because I just had someone say this on Twitter, that the world building felt accessible in the sense that it wasn't too overloaded at first, and that was exactly my goal. I think some people gave me feedback that chapter 1 was a little too little story. Like, it was a lot of action, and I stretched out the action. I wanted to be like really flashy and stuff, but I didn't delve that much into the world building. Well, because I wanted it to be accessible to people who, like, not just lore nerds. Like, I want the world and the story to be fun for people who are going to nerd out about it, are going to like learn the language or something. But I want normal people to feel like they can consume this as well. So on a surface level, it's I want the storytelling to be clear. I want it to be easy to read, and you can enjoy it even without having to delve into world building and find out all the little terms that the characters reference on the side. Like, anything important is explained in the story in a natural way as you go. And if you want to find out more about, things on like random little things on the periphery, that's what the website is there for, actually. So I have this website that's almost like a DM handbook for the world, and that's why I don't have to spend a lot of time over explaining things in the book, as long as because the characters' journeys come first, and the world building is there and it's expansive, but it takes the backstage. Like, it's about the characters. So if you want to find out more about the world, you can go on the website and immerse yourself a little more, and that's how it works.
So for those of us who are lore nerds, we can definitely get our fill.
Yes, you can. Oh, believe me. There's still a lot of time on this.
And that brings up a good point. When you say spend a lot of time on this, I mean, we can go through part of what you've done, because your campaign page looks awesome. It always does. And however, we don't need to read the whole thing to the fans, because this kind of discussion shows us more about your passion for the campaign, for your interest in it. And when we see that, I think it garners more interest from the fans and potential backers.
Cool. Yeah. I just got kind of carried away talking about whatever. I mean, we can go down, look at the campaign if you want, but.
Oh, yeah. I was just saying that we weren't constrained with time, because even though it's already 22, that's okay that we haven't looked at every bit of the campaign, because, everybody's who's watching is familiar with what campaigns look like. They can have a look at the tiers, but if you want to hit on some of the highlights, let's do that.
Sure, yeah. Obviously, I have right at the top, I have covers. So I have 2 variant covers that are all going to be there throughout the whole campaign. So the first one is mine, and the second one is
Oh, sorry.
by It's fine. I was gonna say much more about it. That's just my cover. Hey, that's
Okay.
called the classic cover. And then the next one is the what I call the Boobsco cover because it's by Boob Dan and Billy Basco, and they're from they're from the Goblin Girl campaign. And we're forming like a little fantasy comics cabal. It's like fantasy comics at Indiegogo. I'm trying to like form my own little cabal over here. So I'm good friends with them, and they did this awesome cover for me.
It is awesome.
And the next one is the Au Naturel cover, which this is just the flats, so it's not done yet. But this was for Red Valkyrie because they have been lovely friends and they hold auctions and stuff. So we decided to collaborate on Shave and Red Valkyrie did a cosplay of Ragna and gave some cosplay prints to the campaign to use. And so this cover is only activated when I'm on their channel, which is usually like every other Friday or so. So it's like people like it, unsurprisingly, and it's a limited on and off thing. And I also had a black and white cover, but that was for the first 24 hours only. So
it's clear what this is here for. This box up here. But
yeah.
is this one covering what I think it is?
It actually doesn't show anything, either top or bottom. It's just Indiegogo's kind of like they freak out over things, so I was being safe.
Yeah, I was wondering about
anything.
that because Mandy Summers has experienced a similar thing with Gem Shock. It's like all of the things that you aren't really permitted to show are covered, but
yeah,
they still have a problem with that.
Yep, that's a little annoying. Oh, and here are the characters.
Casimir.
Yay.
How do you say the second one? Isco?
Isco, yeah.
Isco, okay.
Yep. And there's Yomi. Those are the three. We met them in chapter 1 and chapter 2. So I have 4 lead characters. Casimir is the protagonist, like the main character, but I have this weird structure where I have 4 lead characters, and so it's the 3 of them, and then Ragna joins them later on in chapter 2. So she's not there yet. But
the one who's typically looks purple?
Yeah, she's purple.
Okay.
She's a different. She's not human. She's a different race.
It doesn't quite show that in this picture here that she's the purple gal, so I was a little confused.
Yeah, the lighting is a little weird there.
Okay.
Maybe I'll Photoshop that just to make it look more purple. And here's some interiors. So the interiors I'm halfway done with the inks, and I've been kind of stuck at halfway done with the inks for a month because I've been promoting the campaign and doing other things. And but it's good that I got pretty far along before I even launch, and I always like to do that because I worry about, like being able to finish, and I really want to be early with this campaign or with the fulfillment. So halfway done with the inks and probably like a quarter-ish done with the colors.
Okay.
Something like that. So making pretty good progress.
For all of you who are watching or looking at us on the replay, you can back this with confidence because Rini is professional. She obviously is talented and she fulfills. I got Fiendish on time, so.
Thank you. Thank you for supporting Chapter 1.
Yeah, you bet. Who is the white? Is it a tiger or a panther? What is that?
Oh, that's a animal I made up called a Frostfang. It's essentially a snow leopard merged with the Smilodon, which is a saber-toothed tiger. Yeah, that's Casimir's pet. She usually doesn't look that angry. I mean, it's better to have her look angry and cool on a cover, but she's kind of a giant cuddle bug. She's adorable. I swear, she really is normally.
The right word for the saber-toothed tiger. You know that it's a Smilodon. I'm impressed.
Well, yeah. Well, I have this thing with Fiendish where I actually have decided to use prehistoric animals for most of the animals. So people don't ride horses and they don't have modern dog breeds. They have sort of like prehistoric versions of dogs, and most of the animals either are kind of I'll take an existing animal and tweak it a bit. Like a lot of the elk have a horn on their nose, or it's like an ancient megafauna version of an animal. I just thought that would be a little, because I like prehistory a lot, so I figured why not use that knowledge to put it to use.
Makes it even more fun for you, right?
Yeah. Oh, and here is just a basic rundown of the 3 main perks. You can get just a book of any variant. You can get a Catch Me Up, which is book 1 and book 2 at a discount, and then the Give Me Everything, which is the featured tier, and that's everything in the campaign, obviously, except for the wood burning plaques, the original art that has to be sold separately.
Okay. Well, wow. If these are if that's the perks, that's super simple. And a lot of people appreciate that, because when you've got 100 different perks and do this and do that, it gets almost overwhelming. I mean, obviously people can eventually figure it out, but sometimes they get a little bit of decision paralysis.
Yeah, I think I gave people a few different options with like the first 24 hours, and I have some secret perks as well, but I feel like even that was a little too much. Like, I want to keep my campaign simple, and I think the next campaign is going to be even simpler. I want to be really straightforward. Variants, catch me up, give me everything. And I have some little tchotchkes for the add-ons, and you can customize your package, your order however you want after you pick your perk. So,
Okay.
I want to keep it as simple as possible, and it's hard to resist adding more stuff, but I think I should do that because it's the right thing to do. I think it just, like, campaign legibility and sort of it worries me. I know people add variant covers and stuff after campaign launches all the time, but I
Right.
don't think I'm going to do that this time. I think next time I'm going to have an actual subscription here, and I'm going to build it in, so it'll be possible for me to add like t-shirts and extra variants. But this time I didn't do that. I'm just going to keep things the way they are, so it's straightforward. And all the stretch goals are additions to what people already bought. So more pages for the book, better cardstock, and like a print for everybody. Eventually, I think I'm gonna have like everybody gets a free print, and upgrading the poster, stuff like that.
So here's
And
the
it's looking
stretch
good.
goals you're talking about. Trading
Mm-hmm.
card. Oh, 1, 2, and 3. Winning
Mm-hmm.
piece of Fiendish 2 fan art. Oh, cool.
Mm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're not quite to this one yet, but getting very close. 4
Almost
more
there.
pages. Yeah, we can
Yeah.
get there. I don't know about tonight on my
Hmm.
show, but
We
soon.
can do it. Come on. Ah, okay, 110K.
I challenge you. Let's get her there.
Yes, come on, everybody. But yeah, so
So
the
I wanted to stop on the standees here. I got a standee. The very first one I ever got was from Vinny Tartamella's Shadow of the Kraken, and I hadn't actually I'd seen him on the screen before, but I actually didn't actually have one until that. I really like it, so I'm happy to see that you've got two here on your campaign, both the Demon and the Ragna, because I don't let my wife hear me say this, but I may want to start collecting these.
they're nice, aren't they?
They're very
It's
cool. I
more of
like them.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're cool. They're more of an anime thing, but it's like having a figurine, but with like, first of all, it's easier to make, but also it's you get the art from the book directly. And
Yeah.
I don't know how to say it, but it's I got the idea from anime because growing up in Asia, like, having these standees is a very, very common anime product.
Oh, is it?
So,
Okay.
and mine are actually made in Taiwan by a manufacturer that makes a lot of anime stuff. So, it's kind of a no-brainer for me to make one of these. And I eventually want to make three-dimensional figures, but this is sort of a precursor to that. And I think a lot of people didn't necessarily know what they were, and I was a little worried, but they did really well. I'm actually sold out of the print run I did for chapter 1 for the demons, so I'm gonna have to make more. So yeah, I thought, why not do a second one of Ragna for book 2, and I'm sure people will love that because it's Ragna.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good shot of her too, like in action or something. So yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
That's cool. And you've got your art book, Regrowth. Uh, I can actually say firsthand knowledge that that's an awesome book. I got that one too, and definitely worth your while, folks. It's a steal at just $20 because Renee's art is really good.
Oh, thank you. Well, it's just black and white, and
That's all right.
it is a big book though. It's like 70 something pages, so you're definitely getting
Yeah,
your money's worth. I'm
76
just
pages at $20, and yeah, it's not a story; it's an art book, but still, I poured over that a couple times, so yeah, it's definitely worth it.
yeah, yay. And I have the
And
world map that everybody has
oh,
been requesting.
yes. Oh,
That's
you
a
know what? You've got a better
thing.
pick. Where is that? Here we go.
It's written down there, yeah. Yeah, so by default, right now it's going to be printed on canvas, but I'm hoping to get to the stretch goal. I think I'm going to set it for 150 because it's a little expensive to do, but If we get to that, we can print the world map on canvas, and I really want that. So please,
Oh, that'd be sweet.
Yeah, I want one for myself.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm hoping that my campaign gets to a stretch goal where we get challenge coins, because I got one for Siamese, my first campaign, and I love that thing. So yeah, I'd love for everyone to get their hands on a challenge coin. And these maps, a lot of people just love the maps, don't they, Rini?
Yeah, I was surprised. I don't know. I keep on being surprised by the reception. Like, I don't expect people to be interested in the story. Turns out they are. I don't expect people to delve that much into my nerdy world building. Well, turns out they are. Oh, I'm just making a map for fun. I don't expect anybody to be interested. It's just a stupid fantasy world, and everybody loves it and they want to buy it. So I need to stop doubting myself, I think. But yeah, turns out people are just as into world building and fantasy. I mean, this is what fantasy fans like, though, right? And I'm a fantasy fan, so I'm just making what I want to have in my life. I'm making the kind of stuff I would buy. That's really what it is.
Yeah, well, you know what? That's the kind of thing they say about writing stories too. They say, write the story that you would want to read, and then if you do that, it'll show in the quality.
I hope so. I'm trying.
You bet. Oh, look at this. Alejandro Villa says, so happy for you, Irene. Now give me some of that money.
Oh, damn. All right. Hi, Alejandro. Hello.
And we've got, let's see. I see that Alex VRB is saying hi to Nina. Is Nina up here?
Nina's the cat. Alex has a frighteningly good memory of everything that I've ever mentioned about my campaign. It's honestly
okay.
very impressive. Right, I'll mention something about the world building like 50 weeks ago, and he'll still remember and bring it up in chat. It's amazing. Wow. Nina's the name of the cat. Mm-hmm.
Oh, and then here he talks about your Frostfang.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Yep, very cool.
I love her.
All right,
I think everybody's favorite characters are first Ragna and then Nina. And I'm like, if I was smart, I would have made my busty magic girl the main character. But no, I had to make my frozen asshole of a dude the main character. It works out. But the
busty really magic girl is there. So for those of you who are watching for that,
yeah, she's a staple of the story. So don't worry.
And prominent on the cover. Well, yes. On the main cover.
Mm-hmm.
When I first saw this, for some reason, I had only seen like this much of it. Mm-hmm. So I thought perhaps that there was more like beneath her on the cover, where in fact it's this way, where the logo is right in the middle. That's an interesting choice. What prompted you to do that? Is that in order to make it two different panels?
I don't know. It was just I was trying to be creative with my compositions for this cover. I struggle a lot with covers. I want to. I'm so tempted to just hire out people to do my covers, but it annoys me when interior artists don't draw. Like none of the covers are the same art as the interior. So right. I'm like, I will do at least one cover for every book. But yeah, especially with Chapter 2, it was. Covers in general are hard because you want to capture, this is like 70 pages of story in one image, and how do you capture that? And you can't capture all of it, but you want to figure out, well, what aspect of this story within do you represent in the cover? And I don't like to do covers that are just one scene. I want, like, it has to be exciting, has to look cool, and it also has to capture the story inside. And I don't want to do anything generic. So this is what I came up with. It seems to work, but it was a lot of thought went into this.
So yeah.
Yes, yes, yeah. Oh, I'm not that good at covers, but I try.
Now, speaking of the covers, I didn't remember to ask you this when we were looking at the Plague Basco. Is there going to be cover dressing on this one, or is it a virgin cover?
Oh, there should be like a logo, but I think I'm going to make it pretty small. Yeah, I kind of didn't plan for that. I think he planned for me to put the logo on top, but I really just like that background being there. So I think the title would just be in the corner.
Maybe like right here or something?
Yeah, just really small in the corner.
Now, let me see something else here. Do you? Oh, you do. I was going to say, I know that you had Hellion as your like brand. So you think
Mhm.
maybe that'll go up in this corner and that logo over here, something like
Yeah.
that?
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
cool.
Yeah, I think that's what I'll do. I should probably update that.
Well, that's okay. I mean, I think a lot of people are just more interested in what the cover composition is. And then here you've
Mm,
got. Do you have Hellion? Oh, you don't have Hellion on this one yet, but you also
not
said
yet.
this one's not quite done, right?
No, that's just the flats. I just
Okay.
haven't had time to do anything this month. It'll eventually be done.
Excellent. Well, this campaign looks great. Um, you're doing very well. Obviously, they can do better. I know it can. We can get you to
Yay.
110. Heck, let's get to 150 so those maps can be on canvas. That would be awesome.
Oh, I hope so. Please.
So
Oh.
you've got 13 days left in your campaign. So one less day than I do on mine. I'm going to catch up, Rini.
You can do it. I believe in you.
Yeah, probably not. But anyway, it's fun to think like that. So 13 days left, folks. If you haven't backed it yet, seriously consider going out there and doing so. Let's make it happen for Rini Draws, Irene Strychalski here with Fiendish Chapter 2 Origins. I want to thank you so much for being on the show, Rini. I know you're very busy. That's why we bumped this up a few hours
Thank you
because I
so
know that
much
you're
for working with me. Yeah, you have a stream at 8, so now I can go get some stuff done and then
right,
scramble
right.
to my channel. Oh, Vina Reviews has a really quick question if I can answer that
Oh, yeah.
before we
Please go
end.
ahead.
If you don't mind, how much do you scrap from your original script for chapter 2, or how much is the book now different than what was in the first script? It's completely different. I started writing this around 2018. I still have the original. I think the working title was like demoniac or something. It's completely different. Like I had shapeshifters. Like I have an old world map that looked completely different. Only a couple of names I've carried over. The magic system. I mean, I didn't know what I was doing. I was essentially just like, the only thing that has stayed the same is Casimir's character has mostly been the same. Iskul is the same. It's always been like Casimir's buddy that sticks with him through the story. But I aged him down at some point because I realized that worked better. Yomi's character has always been there, but she was a different race, like an earlier version I had of the dev, and she looked different. But I've always had like sort of this younger girl that joins a party, and Ragna's character, I couldn't decide. She's kind of a merger of like a couple of characters I had in the first draft because I had sort of like this warrior, this Viking warrior chick, and then a young, more innocent, like teenage magic girl character. And at some point, I'm like, I want to just make them the same character. And as I started thinking about how the shamans work, and I wanted to create this kind of shamanic system because shamanism and shamans in Arvos are it's like a formal order. I just realized let me make her she's both this magic girl, but she's also kind of like Deja Thor. She's like huge personality, really bossy, and like very competent and all that stuff. It's long story short, it's totally different. I don't know exactly how many drafts I've done because as you work, you edit things, and after I edit things enough, I realize okay, it's too much to edit. Let me just completely redo it. So I'll have like the old draft, like draft 4 on the left side, and then on the right I'll have like draft 5, and then I'm just like copying over what I can use, and then I'm filling in the parts that I want to add, and it's this whole complicated process. So I've been doing that at least like I probably revamped this thing like 10 times. But chapter 2, once I have the script or like the prose script down, it doesn't change that much. It's more just the nuances, and I kind of add in some scenes. I squish things together a lot. I don't do like a page by page script. I do like a prose summary. It looks almost like a novel on the back end. So I guess there you go. Nothing is solid until the thumbnails and like the drawing actually starts. But I'd say like 80% of it is the same as the script.
So we approach writing very differently. I write my scripts as if you would see it in like a play or a screenplay. because I've been an actor since I was in the 6th grade. So I always picture this as a play with blocking and the as if there's a camera angle and things like that as I'm writing. So it sounds to me like you write the story and then think about the camera angles and blocking afterward. Would that be correct?
No. I think of the like, because in my head it's like an anime. It looks like it's, and when I write it, I'll make notes of, like, most of the time I don't need to make notes about the specific camera angles for a scene, because I kind of trust myself to remember, like, to pick good camera angles as I'm drawing it when I do get to the layout stage. But sometimes, like, a certain shot, I'll make a note like, oh, this really needs to be like a down shot and zoom out as we pull out of this scene, or this should be an over the OTS shot. So it's like a novel, but also not. It's like a novel, but like not written for anyone else to read. It's just like for me to draw thumbnails off of.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Yeah, it's weird. What I mean is, I don't break it out into like this pages and panels. I don't really like doing that. I feel like that's too much to think of. That slows me down, and that gets in the way of me just making the scene work and making sure the character arc is working for every scene and for every chapter. I just want to make sure, like, the characters and, like, the story makes sense and the dialogue makes sense, and then I can figure out the page layouts when, like, after all the story is, like, makes sense. You know what I mean? And
yes,
I've gotten to the point where, oh, sorry.
So say one of the great benefits you have is, in addition to being the writer, you're also the artist, and therefore you have the opportunity to do that and not have to think about that until you're ready to put the panel layouts together.
Yeah, it's very lucky. If I was working with someone else, I wouldn't be doing. If I was writing for an artist, that I wouldn't be working the same way. But actually, I was thinking of hiring out an artist to do the chapter 2.5, which I don't think I will, but. After all, but what I turned out doing is I just started doing the layouts, and I was telling the person that I was thinking of hiring. They turned out they didn't have the time, but to just use my layouts as a script, because I'll do thumbnails and then letter the thumbnails, and if they want to change anything, they can feel free to, because that's kind of how, like, if you're working on a Marvel script, that's how it works. You get the script from the writer, but if you feel like a panel can be split into 2 or something like that, usually they're okay with you changing things here and there. So,
yes.
So yeah, I just think better in that sense. Just going straight from, like, this prose summary to layouts. And I was also going to say, I've gotten to the point where I have a pretty good grasp of how many comic pages a certain chunk of writing will transfer to, which really just takes time to develop, because, as everyone knows, early on you always use more pages than you think you will. So
absolutely. Yep.
it's very fortunate that I get to just draw my own writing. It makes things so much easier.
Yep, that I'm super jelly about. I'm #just a writer, but still, it's so much fun to be a part of this, So what we're going to do is we're going to ask you, where can we find you on the socials?
You can find me at Irene Draws on Twitter and Instagram. I'm mostly active on Twitter, and I also have a website, irenedraws.com, but I don't really. The website you should focus on is the Fiendish website. Oh, right, and I have a YouTube channel, so my YouTube channel is also Irene Draws. I'm just Irene Draws everywhere, and I stream Wednesdays at 8 p.m. EST, so in about an hour, come join me. And yeah, check out Fiendish on Indiegogo.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much again, Rini, for being here, for being my co-host before. And I'll reach out to you and ask you to come on, I hope, in the near future.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, you bet. So before we go, I'm going to play a testimonial video that I put together, which talks about my campaign. Can't mention that enough, because things have stalled a little bit, hopefully to get some more eyes on the project.
Back in Projectile.
Projectile Reptile from Dojo Comics, only on Indiegogo. Are you ready for the truly Wild West?
Between all of us, we've probably seen hundreds of campaigns, and this one's really laid out cleanly. I like how you've laid it out.
This campaign's very clear. You've done a great job of communicating those things. You can tell you've put a lot of care and attention into the book and the campaign.
Look at this! You've got an awesome book.
It's awesome. The concept is cool. It's a brand new character. It's a mixture of Western, superhero, It has something for everyone.
This is a bit of a sprawling story. I thought we would just be staying in the Wild West, but it seems we're going to town on this one.
If there is anyone out there who thinks they might know someone who might be interested in a gun-slinging, gun-toting, reptile, cowboy, superhero time travel book.
I love the 4 arms. That's so cool.
The Wild West. I love it. I'm a big Western fan. I've always been a Western fan.
Brian, you're a workhorse.
Because I really like the decisions made here. It's really cool.
And you're making the right decisions, you're making the right changes, and you're headed in the right direction. And those are all huge positives, and that's a testament to you wanting to succeed, and it's great to see.
All right, guys, we do have a few projects up there right now that I do want to go over, make sure that we get our friends funded here for Comicsgate. We've got 160 people in the chat, so thank you for showing up. This is Projectile Reptile from Dojo Kun right here. Dojo Kun's like our truth barometer, our fraud barometer for Comicsgate. If he likes you, you're probably in a good spot, is where I think that it is, and you do a good service for Comicsgate for that.
Sincerely, Dojo, your perseverance is sincerely inspirational to me.
I do think that out of all of the books that you've put out, this does seem like the best interior art I've seen so far. I mean, I think you found a really good artist.
Oh, Renzo Rodriguez, the Impossible Stars artist, did this cover. I love his art. He's a good guy.
Cheers.
He doesn't do drama. He just makes on-time books, my friends.
That's right.
Just like Dojo.
There's some fantastic covers. They're all amazing on this campaign.
Projectile Reptile. That'll be my first hardcover cover piece ever. Yeah, just so you guys know. I've never had a hardcover release, so
that right there is history in and of itself. So if you want the first ever Shelby Robertson hardcover cover, get in there and back Projectile Reptile and get that Shelby cover.
Hell yeah.
It's definitely some very cool character design.
Got the beautiful honeys right here. And I love how you're bringing the gingers back. We do not discriminate against gingers in comic books over here in the Indies.
That's right.
We bring them back.
Yes, I love those freckles, man.
That's why I love your game. It's simple. I love you can just get it. It's a little add-on. I love that, though. Just starting small and starting light.
Well, I like the Mint 10 game. I've never seen something like that before, so that's really cool to see some new stuff.
Great. Hey, a great trailer, Dojo Kun.
Let's help Brian get this funded.
Back Projectile Reptile.
yeah.
All right.
It's awesome. I love westerns. It's got a western monster vibe. They used to have fun with these comics, and they don't anymore. But we're going to do it for them because they can't. And so check out Projectile Reptile Comics by Dojo Kun. Good friend of the channel. Great guy in Comicsgate here. And you deliver you deliver. You've got a reputation for delivering. Good guy. On time books. No drama.